This meeting of the Starkville Board of Aldermen will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, after which Alderman Vaughn would like to yield to Pastor Middleton to lead us in a word of prayer, and we will observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for watching over us this afternoon in our city, God, and the inclement weather that's out there. And Father, we pray for those that were in harm's way this afternoon, Father, who have suffered damage, that you would be with them, provide for them and their needs. Father, tonight we just pray for this meeting, this business and agenda that will be carried out. Lord, we pray for our mayor, we pray for our board of aldermen, that you give them wisdom and guidance. And Father, that the things that are done here tonight, Father, would be done in a Christ-like manner to the glory of God. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
All right, just a quick housekeeping note before I open the agenda for revision, and that is we do have inclement weather today. We have a most unusual circumstance where we actually closed City Hall and sent all non-essential personnel of the city home at 1 o'clock. And frankly, were it not for the way Mississippi statutes require city boards to meet, we probably would have canceled this meeting tonight. We kept a close eye on the weather all afternoon and made a late determination that it would indeed be safe enough to have the meeting. Under state law, we're required to open a meeting on the first Tuesday of every month. And while we certainly think if the situation were ever so dangerous that people couldn't actually get to the building, we could make a practical decision not to open the meeting. The law does not provide a clear path to begin the proceeding of our monthly meeting otherwise. So we decided to press forward with the meeting tonight. I will ask both the public and the members of our board if discussions look like they are carrying along tonight, please consider tabling those matters, moving them to the next meeting so that we can move as quickly as possible through this agenda. And we will have the meeting for the month opened, and then we can recess until the February 16th meeting. At this time, I'll ask, are there any, Alderman Perkins?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, and to my colleagues and members of the public. What I'm about to say very briefly and follow what the mayor said just a few minutes ago, I've given much thought to what I'm about to say. I'm going to move very quickly, and hopefully we can move this agenda rather quickly, and given the inclement weather that exists. Mr. Mayor, I've given a lot of thought to this today, and just a follow-up to the decision that's been made today, and I'm going to do this just for tonight, given the inclement weather that we have. And Mr. Mayor, I'm going to agree to a consent agenda for tonight just for that purpose. And if you would recognize me on the consent matters, that we can go through them rather quickly.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we do Roman numeral 4, both of the minutes for the approval of the board, Alderman minutes.
Proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to place both items under Roman numeral number 4 onto the consent agenda. Those items are as follows. The consideration of the minutes of the January 5th, 2016 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, incorporating any and all changes as recommended by the City Attorney, and the consideration of the minutes of the January 11th, 2016 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, incorporating any and all changes as recommended by the City Attorney, both otherwise as presented. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir.
Is there any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those two matters have been added to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, Roman numeral 9, Mayor's Business A.
All right, proposed revision is to add Roman numeral 9A, the discussion and consideration of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, making a sponsorship of $250 to the MSU Black Alumni Weekend pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated Section 17-3-1 as presented to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, That matter's been added to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed provisions?
Yes, sir. A number of them, Mr. Mayor. Roman numeral 10, Board Business A.
Proposed revision by Alderman Perkins is to add Roman numeral 10A, the discussion and consideration of the city of Starkville making a $250 sponsorship for the Starkville High basketball team banner pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated section 17-3-1 to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Do I
Mayor.
hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been added to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed?
Roman numeral 11, Department of Business and Airport, both items.
Proposed revision by Alderman Perkins is to add both items under a Roman numeral 11A, airport, to the consent agenda. Those items are as follows. The discussion and consideration of terminating the airport fixed-based operator release as presented, and the discussion and consideration of the approval to advertise for a fixed-based operator as presented. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, may be recognized?
You may.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes, sir.
are you moving to approve of those two items and let those be affirmative items on the consent agenda?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Any objection?
Object.
All right, that has been objected to. Audience, please maintain decorum.
Mr. Mayor, is he objecting to both or one or what?
Are you objecting to both, Alderman Carver?
Yes.
Okay, so those will both remain on the open agenda. Alderman Perkins, you have further proposed?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Engineering, D, Roman numeral 11, both items.
All right, the proposed revision by Alderman Perkins is to place the items under Roman numeral 11D, both on the consent agenda. Those items are as follows. A request for approval to accept the lowest and best quote from Groundstone Construction in the amount of $41,392 for the concrete portion of the city parking lot improvement project as presented, and a request for approval to accept the low quote from Falcon Contracting in the amount of $39,820 for the asphalt portion of the city parking lot improvement project as presented. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been added to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed?
Yes, sir. Finance Administration E, number 2 only.
Proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to place items, or item 11E2 on the consent agenda. That is the proposed approval of December 2015 financial statements as presented. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those items have been, that item has been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed
Fire
revision?
Department, both items, F, please.
The proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to place both items under Roman numeral 11F on the consent agenda. Those two items are as follows. The request for permission for Tony Claiborne, Mark McCurdy, Steen McMullen, and Jonathan Wade to attend the Mississippi Fire Investigators Association 2016 Spring Seminar, March 22nd through 25th, 2016, at the Sam's Town Hall, Tunica, Mississippi, for an approximate cost of $1,900 as presented, and the request for approval to allow Greenville Fitness to conduct the fire department annual fitness exams as presented. Alderman Perkins, are those your proposed revisions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed revisions?
Mr. Mayor, G, Human Resources, all 4 items, please.
Proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to place all 4 items under Roman numeral 11G onto the consent agenda. Those items are as follows. A request for authorization to advertise to fill a vacant position of a street sweeper in the Sanitation and Environmental Services Department as presented. A request for authorization to advertise to fill the vacant position of police officers in the Starkville Police Department as presented. A request for approval of education assistance benefit for Crystal Hackett as set forth in our educational assistance policy as presented. A request for authorization to hire Stephen Garcia, Christian Twilley, and Ryan Shaw to fill vacant positions for firefighter in the fire department as presented. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have any further proposed revisions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I, Parks, 1, please.
Proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to place Roman numeral 11I1 on the consent agenda. That item is as follows. The discussion and consideration of an amendment to the Personnel Policy Manual, Section 3.108, outside employment or business as it relates to park service as presented. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been added to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Roman numeral 11J, both items, please.
proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to place both items under Roman numeral 11J on the consent agenda. Those items are as follows. A request for approval to accept the lowest and best bid received from TCC Facilities Management Incorporated at $300 per month for 3 days per week for the Starkville Police Department, and authorize the city to sign an agreement with said company upon review of the board attorney as presented, and request for approval to allow Greenville Fitness to conduct the police department annual fitness exams as presented on the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been added to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. And finally, Roman numeral 11L, items 1 through 4.
Proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to add all 4 items under Roman numeral 11L to the consent agenda. Those items are as follows. A request for approval to execute an amendment to the water purchase agreement with IREC CPP Mississippi State LLC, approved November 18th, 2014, along with any and all documents required to file joint petition with the Turkey Creek Water Association with the Mississippi Public Service Commission to cancel their certificate of public convenience and necessity for the service areas specified in said amendment on behalf of the city. A request for authorization for Terry Kemp to travel to Chattanooga, Tennessee for TVPPA and SAEC meetings on March 3rd, 2016 to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and March 28th, 2016 for the TVPPA board meeting, and to Sandestin, Florida for the TVPPA annual conference May 16th through 18th, 2016 as presented. Request for approval for the Starkville Utilities to advertise for bids for water meter replacement and installation services and AMI installation services. A request for authorization to accept the lowest bid and extend permission to begin the project for the extension of the force main on Banyan Road to Terry Stidham Construction. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed?
Yes, sir,
revision?
Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been added to the consent agenda. Alderman Perkins, do you have any further proposed revisions?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
All right, seeing none, let me do a checkup and make sure Alderman Maynard is still with us. Alderman Maynard, are you with us?
Yes, I have a proposed revision there.
All right, Alderman Maynard is recognized for a proposed revision. Alderman Maynard?
I would like to move the items under 11B2, planning, up to mayor's business.
Is that at the beginning of mayor's business?
Well, the other item under mayor's business has been put on consent, so yes.
That is correct. All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to reorder the agenda, placing what was previously Roman numeral 11B2, the 2 items under Roman numeral 11B2, under mayor's business as the first 2 items under mayor's business. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change to the order of your agenda. Alderman Maynard, do you have any further proposed revisions?
No, sir.
Are there any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Are there any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda is revised is in order. Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve the agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. We are statutorily required, when we have a member joining us telephonically, to conduct every vote by roll call. So every vote we take this evening will be conducted by roll call. Please respond by saying yay, nay, or abstain when the city clerk calls your name to Alderman Carver's motion to approve the agenda as revised.
Alderman Carter.
Yay.
Alderman Nguyen. Yay. Alderman Walker.
Yay.
Alderman Maynard.
Yay.
Alderman Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
By a vote of 6 in favor with 0 against, this measure passes. You now have before you the approval of the consent agenda. Can't really take a roll call vote on the consent agenda. We can still do it without objection. All right, is there any objection at this time to the approval of the consent agenda? Is there any objection at this time to the approval of the consent agenda? Any objection, any objection, any objection? Seeing none, the consent agenda has been approved. And the next matter before you is announcements and comments by the mayor and members of the board. And I have one comment tonight, and that's the introduction of our two newest firefighters. If you gentlemen could come forward. First, I'd like to introduce Andrew Claiborne. Andrew is originally from Loveland, Ohio, and is a graduate of Loveland High School. Andrew graduated from Mississippi State University with a degree in kinesiology. Prior to joining the Starkville Fire Department, Andrew worked in sales for Class C Solutions Groups. Andrew is the son of Steve and Joan Claiborne. When time permits, Andrew enjoys hunting, fishing, working out, and spending time with his three dogs, Copper, Paisley, and Hurley. He attends Pine Lake Baptist Church. Please join me in welcoming Andrew Claiborne. I'd now like to introduce Stephen Morgan. Stephen is originally from Sturgis, Mississippi, and is a graduate of Starkville Academy. He attended Holmes Community College, Delta Community College, East Mississippi Community College, and received his degree in agricultural engineering, technology, and business from Mississippi State University. Prior to joining the Starkville Fire Department, Stephen was the owner of Southern Mulching, LLC. Stephen and his wife, Laura, are the proud parents of one son, Hastings. During his free time, Stephen enjoys hunting, fishing, lifting weights, and sports. He and his family attend Morgan Chapel Baptist Church. Please join me in welcoming Stephen. And that concludes my comments this evening. Are there any comments from the members of the board? Alderman Walker.
Briefly, just like to remind everyone that next week, February the 9th, 10th, and 11th, the Parks and Recreational Master Plan will be in town. One night at the Gillespie Center, one night here at City Hall, and then one night at the Sportsplex for a community input gathering session for the community parks. So if you're available next Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, please be on the lookout for that and come participate.
Are there any further comments from the members of the board? Any further comments? Any further comments? Any further comments? Saying none, we'll now move to citizen comments. At this time, any citizen wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Please come forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Kenneth Dawson. I have a company called Grassroots Aviation. I'm a fixed base operator here at Starkville. Approximately 4 hours ago, I was notified that I was on the agenda to have my lease terminated. That was the first I've heard about it. I knew nothing about it prior to that. I'm asking you a couple things. One, delay any kind of vote until I can figure out what the problem is and fix it. And the second thing is, let me know what the problem is. The airport board has not told me any way, shape, or form what the problem is. It could be my stance on the dumpster. I wouldn't take the garbage out till the dumpster was empty. It would be my stance on cleaning the bathrooms. They got mad because I wouldn't clean the bathrooms for them because it wasn't in my lease. It could be the way I calculate the rent. I've asked for clarification on that. I've sent them several letters on that. They won't give me any reply. It may be the way I display the state flag. I have that. I've asked the code enforcement guys several times through emails what it's about. The latest email was up in October. I've not heard back on this request as of yet. We'll forward you the findings as soon as we hear from the city attorney. So nobody has told me what I can and cannot do. And I've asked repeatedly what I can and cannot do. And now I find out you're fixing to terminate my lease, or you're going to discuss terminating my lease, and I won't have a chance to answer any concerns that y'all might have. I will point out that when I got here in March of last year, your airport was on the no-fly list. Several companies said do not go to Starkville. If you do go, don't plan on buying gas. Since then, I've more than doubled the amount of fuel that I've sold. I've sent pilots to all kind of hotels, all kind of restaurants. Your airport has an economic impact of $2.5 million and $8 million, and that was prior to me coming. All right, I've had 8 to 10 employees. I've had nothing but good remarks. I can show you pictures of full ramp with jets. I can show you AirNav comments, nothing but good comments from different users all around the country about how good your airport is going. And yet your airport board has not said a single word to me formally about any type of complaint. And then I have to find out about this third hand while I'm eating lunch down at Crystal Springs. So if you could please tell me what the problem is, I'll work to fix it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Are there any further citizen comments? No, we'll have a public hearing on that matter. Any further citizen comments? Are there any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? All right, seeing none, the next matter before you is the discussion and consideration of the denial of EX 15-08, the use by exception request for 2 non-conforming signs at the Red Roof Inn located at 410 Dr. MLK Jr. Drive East in a T5 zoned parcel with the parcel number 117M-00-138.00 as presented. Mr. Sanders.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Maynard.
can Buddy give us an update on this, please?
Mr. Sanders, yes, Mr. Sanders is getting ready to present.
I'm about to, Alderman
Okay.
Maynard. Mr. Rajah Patel recently changed the badging flag of his motel located on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive to Red Roof Inn. Mr. Patel hired a company to replace signage as part of the contract with the company. Permitting was part of the services. Unfortunately for Mr. Patel, the company did not approach the city for building permits or sign permits, the such signs. They just placed them. The code enforcement officer noticed the signs, checked to see if there was any permits that had been issued. We approached Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel told us that he did pay the company for permitting. We instructed Mr. Patel that the signs would have to be brought into compliance, and Mr. Patel filed for use by exception. The 2 types of signs that was placed are not allowed in T districts. Planning and Zoning Commission denied Mr. Patel's request for use by exception of the signs due to they were placed prior to approval being given. And Mr. Patel has appealed that decision to the board tonight.
And is Mr. Patel here this
Yes,
evening? Mr. Patel, as the appellant, you are free to make any presentation you'd like on your own behalf. Would you like to make a presentation this evening?
Yes.
Please.
My name is Raj Patel. I'm the owner of Red Roof Inn in Starkville, which is located on 410 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. I have applied for, I paid all the permit fees to the sign company prior to the installation, like 2 months prior, when I ordered the signs from the company, and they never applied permits from the city. And they installed the signs before we opened as a Red Roof Inn. And then I found out the next week from the city that 2 of the signs are not according to the code. And I will feel see if I can still keep those signs or need to see what I need to do with those signs.
Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board? Alderman Ball.
Mr. Sanders, is anything that wrong with the signs that you see of?
No, honestly, no. They are not to code, I will say that. But Mr. Patel's motel is a typical mid-20th century motel. Signs allowed in the T district are really not something that would be appropriate for his type of business, the way it's currently designed. The signage that is allowed in the T5 district essentially is signage in which either traffic or the building is much closer to the street than offices. It has not been unusual for the board to grant, or excuse me, the Planning and Zoning Commission to grant approval for an exception such as for a sign for First Baptist. Also, Renaissance Insurance. So staff has no issue with the granting of the appeal. It's just the Planning and Zoning Commission just felt that, the sign's already in place and the proper process was not followed.
Mr. Mayor, can I be recognized?
You may.
I move approval that we accept these signs that he has there.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to grant the appeal and overturn the denial of EX 15-08 use by exception request for 2 non-conforming signs at Red Roof Inn located at 410 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive East in a T5 zoned parcel with the parcel number 117-00-138.00 and to approve the signs as they have been placed on the property. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do it. Yeah.
Alderman Vaughn, is your motion based on a finding that the exception is consistent with sections 1.2 and 1.3 of the Transect District Code and is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the City of Starkville's comprehensive plan?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn, or by Alderman Carver. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merit?
No, sir.
Discussion. Alderman Walker.
I certainly feel for your plight in this, but I would hope, Mr. Sanders, I think that's all well and good, but I believe this clearly in this case that there are a number of signs that are allowed within the T District signing ordinance that would be absolutely appropriate in this location. And if we say that none of those signs are appropriate and we take an exception, I don't think it's been proven in paper per the ordinance that the city attorney just read that that's the case in here, where there's been a written appeal that was not part of the packet anyway. I think to hastily take this and say that they don't have to comply, I think sets a bad precedent. I think it says to a developer, even though we think we might have gotten the permits, but if we don't have a permit in hand, I can go build something and then just come back to the board. They didn't go to planning and zoning and get it overturned because of a foul up on the developer or the owner's standpoint. And then they're going to ask somebody to come to the Board of Aldermen and say, well, just because I built it over the right-of-way, why should I have to apply by the code? I've already built it. Don't make me do anything about it. I think that's a bad precedent to set. I think there are plenty of ways that we can work with you to get signs that are closer to being in compliant, that are in compliant with the number of signs that are available within the T5. So I will be voting tonight to support the denial of this, and I hope others will join me because I believe this has the potential to set a very bad precedent in town in terms of what others may be able to do pleading after the fact. Thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote on Alderman Vaughn's motion. Please respond by saying yea, nay, or abstain as the city clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carver.
Yay.
Alderman Nguyen. Yay. Alderman Maynard. Alderman Walker.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Alderman Walker.
I'm a nay.
Alderman Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
It's 5-1.
By a vote of 5 in favor with 1 against, this motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Petty. The next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of the modification and/or removal of conditions placed on RZ 14-03 by the Board of Aldermen on June 17, 2014 for the sonic rezoning of 711 Vine Street from R3 to B1 with the parcel number 102H-00-183. This matter, well, I am interpreting this matter to require a public hearing because rezonings require a public hearing, and as this would modify a material condition to a rezoning, I am interpreting that it requires a public hearing as well. So, Mr. Sanders, I will ask you to introduce the matter, then we'll hear any questions or comments from the members of the board, and then I'll allow the applicant to make a presentation of a maximum of 15 minutes, and we'll hear a maximum of 15 minutes of comments from the adjacent property owners. Mr. Sanders?
Yes, sir. Back in June 17, 2014, the Board of Aldermen granted approval of rezoning of 711 Vine Street to B1 with certain conditions.
Alderman Maynard?
Yes.
Was that you trying to be recognized?
Oh, no.
Okay, proceed, Mr. Sanders.
Those conditions being, 1, a 7-foot solid brick wall constructed on the south side. Condition number 2, a 6-foot wooden privacy fence on the east side of the property. 3, outdoor lighting shall be shielded away from residential area and downlit. Condition number 4, no commercial structure shall be built on B1 property. Also, there's a 5th condition that was not listed on the cover sheet that was introduced the night of the hearing by Alderman Walker, that only one access and exit be allowed on Vine Street. So we have 5 conditions. The applicant is requesting that condition number 2, a 6-foot wooden privacy fence on the east side of the property, be removed. The reason that the applicant is requesting that condition be moved is that Dutch Oil Company holds an easement for access to Vine Street from their property located at South Montgomery and Highway 12. And it is the intentions of the Dutch Oil Company to build a convenience store and have access to Vine Street.
Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board? Alderman Vaughn.
It seemed like it would be more simple for me for the developer to change his plan instead of going and change these people's lifestyle that been there throwing the traffic from one street to another street. How many communities in this city that we take traffic and throw from a main street or main highway into a neighborhood? How many places in this city that we do that? And it just seems like it's just constantly going right there that we want to take this. These people been living there anywhere from 20 to 50 years. So we want to move the traffic from South Montgomery over to Vine Street. The traffic is already overflowing with traffic now that comes from Sonic. So I just can't see it more easy, but right now while we have the developer and the contractor here, it's more easy for us to change their plan and to change these people's lifestyle. That seems like it'd be more permissible than we changing these people's whole lifestyle. They've been living in these homes for 20 to 50 years. And you're gonna tell me that the traffic, the commercial traffic, and when they come to the light, they're gonna turn and go to the right. Who gonna police them? I don't believe that's possible. If they come out of there, when they come out of Sunny or come behind Sunny, the first thing they're gonna do is take a left and go around. I just don't see how we can do this. These people that live there all their life, and we're gonna change their whole lifestyle to accommodate a contractor. When the contractor got his blueprints and his plans, he can change that to accommodate these people to keep living in a comfortable lifestyle. That street is already overflowed with traffic, and all of us know that. So I just can't see why we are changing this here to accommodate a contractor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, may I recognize?
You may.
Mr. Sanders, I want to make sure I'm clear on the 5th condition. I understand that the applicant is seeking to modify condition number 1 and remove condition number 2. Was there any request with respect to condition number 5?
No, there's no request for number 5, and as far as condition number 7, it's my understanding that it's staying as is.
Condition number 7, what do you mean by that?
Condition number 1, 7-foot solid brick wall constructed on the south side of the property line.
I think what he's referring to is it alludes in the packet to there being a request to modify, but it's
Within
not
90, within 90 days is the completion of that wall. That's the modification, to tag that time period on there.
Well, it would be my recommendation that that condition not be removed as far as the 7-foot wall, but the time period would of course have to be adjusted if the board so chooses to move forward.
And that's what they're asking for with condition number 1, to tag that 90-day time period onto that condition.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions or comments from Mr. Sanders? Are there any further questions or comments from Mr. Sanders? Any?
The only question I have is, why are they wanting to remove, do we have a plan that we can see what they're talking about in terms of why they need condition number 2 removed?
Yes, sir. It's my understanding that the applicant does have a site plan to present tonight.
Okay.
Are there any further questions or comments from Mr. Sanders? Alderman Perkins.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sanders, let me make sure I understand that. The lot in question is the old M&F Bank location?
For the subject convenience store, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now, I know when the bank was there was a curb around that property where you could not move to the west toward the direction behind Captain D. So does the site plan eliminate that curb to move back to, obviously back toward Vine Street? Is that correct?
No, sir. The subject drive that the applicant is wanting to construct would be behind the Captain D's.
Okay, so, but the bottom line is, the convenience store will be at the old Merchants and Farmers Bank.
That is correct, yes, sir.
So that traffic, am I correct, that traffic wants to go from that location behind the Captain D's, behind the Sonic, and go all the way over to Vine Street?
Yes, sir, that is correct. That is what the applicant is requesting.
So, will that traffic at that proposed convenience store, will that traffic be able to go to the east onto Montgomery Street?
If the drive will end on Vine Street,
No. In other words, the convenience store is going to be on the corner of 12 Montgomery where the M&F Bank. So that traffic still be able to feed off on Montgomery Street, right?
that is correct, yes, sir.
And it also be able to feed in a northerly direction onto Highway 12 from that location, right?
That is also correct, yes, sir.
What's the logistics then of feeding that traffic back onto Vine Street, as across the other two property sites to that residential neighborhood?
It is my understanding from the applicant, a safety issue in dealing with trucks.
Okay, all right, well, when you said, elaborate on that, when you said a safety issue to truck, fully explain that.
Essentially moving a truck around to empty the truck and move the truck off the property.
And when you said a truck, what type of truck are we talking about?
A tanker truck, a fuel truck.
Okay, now, even with the Captain D's location, there were big trucks coming in for deliveries, that move off to 12. I mean, so wouldn't that be an alternative arrangement there?
Possibly, yes, sir.
Okay, and the traffic that's going to feed off of the corner of this proposed development is going to be feeding entirely into this already narrow street of Vine into that residential neighborhood. It's a residential neighborhood there, correct?
That is
At Vine.
to the south. Of
To the south,
property.
to the south.
Yes, to the north, no.
Right. And you're proposing, the gentleman from 7 mentioned that you're proposing, or is being proposed, that that the commercial traffic will go to the right, which would be right there at Highway 12.
It is my suggestion to the board that a condition be placed that all commercial traffic exiting onto Vine Street must turn right or to the north towards Highway 12.
What are you proposing for the non-commercial traffic that's coming off of that same area to the rear of those properties?
It would be traditional automobiles. However,
I
if the
understand.
board so chooses, they can add language that all traffic must turn to the right from that exit.
So what are you recommending?
That traffic turn to the right towards Highway 12.
All the traffic?
I think that would be the best option, yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I yield.
Alderman Vaughn.
You said a safety issue for the tankers. What about the safety of all the traffic going down the street for the families living down the street? So in other words, these tankers and whatever go down is more important than a person's life. That's what you telling me? And then you said it's gonna go there. Who gonna police that to make sure that they go that way?
It would be up to the police department, sir.
Our police got more better things than sit under and police some traffic.
Yes, sir.
But in other words, you're telling me that these people's lives is more less than a truck. That's what you're telling me. All the traffic go down the road. These people take a chance, walking the street, walking their dog, whatever. You telling me a truck is more important than a life? That's what you telling me?
No, sir, not.
Seems like that what you telling me. That what you just said. You said a safety issue. That what you said a safety issue. So if it's a safety issue, these people lives ain't gonna be in harm's way when all this traffic going down Vine Street.
No, sir, the applicant is saying it's a safety issue.
Oh, so the applicant to the applicant. It's not a safety issue to the peoples?
In the developmental review committee, it was not stated that having traffic going to Vine Street would be a safety issue.
Can't nothing in the world tell me that when that traffic leave out behind something, it gonna go that right. Can't nothing tell me that we gonna police that traffic. That traffic gonna go that way.
Yes, sir.
And people's lives are more important than a truck.
Are there any further questions or comments for Mr. Sanders? Any further questions or comments? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the public hearing. Applicant or representative will have 15 minutes to make your presentation.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, board, I'm Louis Hicks, city attorney, city clerk. I represent Dutch Oil Company and Sonic, and in your audience today, Joe Gillis and Tommy Taylor with Dutch Oil Company, and Ernie Jacobson owns the Sonic on Highway 12. Mike Brink has been the project engineer. It would meet the pleasure of the board and the mayor. I'd like for him to join me at the podium. Sure. To show.
You can have anybody you'd like with you.
The item that Mr. Senator was very clear in his explanation, but to further try to confirm some of the things that have been said, if you would, Mike, show exactly where the wooden fence is that we're requesting approval for it to be removed.
Condition number one. Condition number one is this 7-foot brick wall here. We're not asking for any changes to it. Condition number two was calling for a 6-foot high wooden privacy fence along this line here. And we're asking to have that removed.
Now,
Mr. Walker, I'm gonna mess up your microphone problem. Condition number one, this is Vine Street. Montgomery Street, Highway 12. Condition number one is this split face block wall here that we're not asking for any change. Condition two was requiring a 6-foot privacy fence along this line here. This is actually the lot of the house that used to be south of Murchison Farmers Bank. They bought the bank as well as the house that was directly adjacent to it to the south. And that's why this lines up with the property behind Captain D's and Son. But the area we're asking for is a 6-foot wooden fence right here.
Now, was that for the entirety of that property line,
It
or
was
just,
it
or
was-
you're asking to remove just the piece where the ingress egress would be?
I guess the application asked to remove it all
it's that short wooden fence on the east side.
for that portion there.
And I think it's been stated, but Mr. Jacobson is here. Well, he explained that, elaborated on that. It is 7 feet high along the entire south side, and not 6 feet. 8 inches.
8 foot
replace
7-foot high
CMU
brick fence,
wall
condition number 1, that we're not
that
asking
would
for
be
any change
constructed
for.
within 90 days.
This is Captain D's, this is
before it's off it
south of Highway 12.
And I think.
This is the
They
area
reference
of
that,
the
but I want
6-foot
to
privacy
reiterate
fence, wooden fence that we're asking
Talking
for
about
condition
that
number 1.
thick
This was actually,
30-foot high
the bank
fence
property was
on the
here.
south
This was
line
the house
that would be
that was
constructed.
south of and adjacent to the
You
bank.
think
That's that property.
confirm
They
that
actually acquired
Mr.
those.
Jackson today, that is irrelevant to the city, that will be done, if not, you see fit to approve.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Hicks, let me follow up on Mr. Walker's question, because I think it was a really good one. He was asking about condition 2, which is the 6-foot wooden privacy fence. And his question was, is the applicant requesting the complete removal of that fence or only the removal of the section that would tie into Vine Street?
It doesn't matter really. We just need access through to use our easement. The purpose of that fence was to stop lights from coming onto the existing house that was there before, which no longer exists. It's going to be part of the business where that house was.
Okay.
So there's no functional reason for the fence. If the city wanted it, it's fine. We just need access for safety reasons to get through.
Thank you.
We'd be glad to answer any questions, but that's the thrust of what we'd like to ask the board to consider.
We'll have an opportunity for questions from the members of the board after.
Thank you, sir. Apologize.
That's all right?
That's all we have.
Thank you. At this time, the adjacent property owners collectively will have 15 minutes to make any presentations you'd like to make. And I'll ask the city clerk just to keep a running clock on this.
Hello, my name is Mashonda, and I spell it M-A-C-H-A-U-N-D-A. I've read the other report, so I just want to make sure it's right. First, on the east side, there used to be a house. There were some trees. So the first thing I really would like to address is the whole property line that 7-foot wall is going to be on. When they expanded Highway 12, it extended into Sonic's property. So the beginning of the depth of their property has inched over beyond where it should be. So I'd like that to be addressed, number one. Because when I moved on that street, I remember where that property line was because there was a marker. Now that marker has now moved south of the light pole that's there. So that's an issue before they even build the property, that 7-foot line there. Number two, in my little warped mind, the length of an 18-wheeler truck coming down and turning onto Vine Street, I don't even know if that road is wide enough for that to be an outlet, even if you want it to be a safety issue. And I understand what they're saying. Then you want to look at, you are forcing everyone to turn right, which means you're turning them back onto Highway 12. In the morning when traffic is getting ready for school and 8 o'clock traffic heading to Mississippi State, that's too hot. It's going to be too difficult for them to get exit back onto 12. At lunchtime, it's going to be too heavy of traffic for an 18-wheeler to exit back onto Highway 12. At 5 o'clock, it's going to be too difficult for that truck to exit onto Highway 12. So I realize that you're saying that it's a safety issue for it to pass down and make that way, but realistically, can an 18-wheeler turn off that path onto Vine Street, that length, that width, and actually successfully make it? I don't think that's possible. The truck would have to back up, pull in, back up, pull in. People turn off of Highway 12 so fast, that's going to be an accident. It's going to create more of a problem than it's going to help. I have called the police. I haven't done it in a while, but the Domino's truck sounds like a motorcycle flying down the street when they're delivering. If you go down high on Vine Street, you see skid marks over into that property where people forget to stop. They're going down the road too fast. The lighting, I would like for you all to hold off on building that wall until you actually can verify that that is the property line. Because my other question is, are you going to allow them to build that 7-foot wall on the property line, or are you going to require them to build it 36 inches or a yard or a foot or however long that width is from that property line? As I stated before, you're building a brick wall right next to the house I live in. I've been on Vine Street for a very long time. When they had the robbery at R&M, guess where they found the perp? In the dark bushes. So if you build a brick wall, you're providing an environment for someone to hide. You're creating a safety hazard for the individuals that live there. The access, if you're going to worry about safety, again, that provides number 5, the one outlet onto Vine Street. I'm still picking up Sonic trash out of my yard from people who leave Sonic and throw it out. I'm tired of it. You can go out there right now. I purposely left it there because it happens. It has created a new problem because people they haven't done it in a while. But I see them jump the curb, come across the curb, go down my driveway, and keep right on going because they don't want to turn into the traffic on Highway 12. So you're actually creating a larger problem for the citizens who have learned to live there comfortably, and it's not going to help. So I'm asking that you reconsider this. I'm also asking that repeatedly the residents of Vine Street and Sonic have appeared before you guys enough time for you guys to be sick of us. I'm asking you to require them to do what you've asked them to do. In all of this time, I can say in 10 or more years, when they brought that property and tore that house down, at the current state where they are in, there should already be a buffer, not a buffer. There's nothing there. In all of this time, if you can't make them come up to code just on general things, how can you hold them to what you've already asked them to do? Every so many years, 2 to 3 years, they're coming back saying, maybe we have an exception, maybe we have an exception. I'm asking you to hold them to what you all have asked them to hold them to, and require them to do what you're asking all other businesses to do. And if this doesn't work for them, let them fold and leave. I don't care. But stop. We work hard to earn and build what we have. And we have a right to fight to keep the consistency of the lifestyle that we're used to, without having people constantly bombard us with the same request over and over again. I live in the house next to it. Right now, I am in that house by myself, so my safety is important to me. I don't want to come home in the night and turn around to a brick wall and someone standing in my driveway. So I'm asking that you hear the residents of Vine Street's plea. I'm speaking on behalf of all of them, and just take that into consideration. And I really would like for the property line to be truly established, because, and if that wall will be built exactly on the line, or if it's going to be back. If I understand correctly, it's supposed to have some trees or something along that wall. And it is important that the lights are down there, because I mean, the lights now are extremely bright, and I have to put curtains on the window in that back room to keep the lights out. I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop. There's 8 minutes remaining for any adjacent property owners. Is there any other adjacent property owner that wishes to speak? Any other adjacent property owner that wishes to speak? Seeing no one, we'll now move into questions and comments by the members of the board. Alderman Walker.
I just have one question for you, Ms. Bush, just so I'm clear. Are you saying that you don't want the masonry wall on the east? Is it the east end, on the south end of the property?
What I'm saying is, if they're going to build it, I want to know how close it's going to be. Am I going to walk out and 2 feet away a brick wall is there or not? I do want a buffer there. Yes. I want something that's going to prevent people from driving into my yard and continuing to tear up the driveway. I've got a big lot. I mean, and I'm not talking about just people. The some employers were coming through my driveway up into that property. I had some even point to my dad for being in my driveway because they were trying to back out. Doesn't make sense.
Okay, thank you. Is there, Mr. Sanders or Mr. Kemp, is there, I mean, has there been a plat done for this drawing? Do we know where, does the applicant know where the actual property line is? Other than what's in the packet?
They do have a marker there now, but that marker has been moved since I know it's far, but it was on the other side of the light pole. It's now, the pole is here, it's now on this side of the light pole.
And Ms. Bush, in the future, please refrain
I'm
from
sorry.
responding unless an alderman asks you a question directly.
So Mr. Kemp, would that be just a legal description, just something that needs to be verified, just in where the property line is, and then whatever the code is requires how far that masonry wall will have to be built off the property line? Do we know that information?
Mr. Brent is a licensed surveyor, and I believe he's surveyed the property at night boundary. So we've been kind of relying on the drawings that they presented as part of the development review process.
With Brent respond, but we will wait for our turn, but certainly it would not be encroaching on anybody south of the easement area. It would be surveyed, state, and the building permit granted by the city to construct that 7-foot wall. But if you don't want the wall, as our understanding, one of the main considerations about removing the wood fence, but my understanding that the wall had been asked for before and hadn't been built. And that's the reason Mr. Jacobson was assuring the mayor and board tonight, and if that's what you want, that will be done. It will be built precisely on that boundary line and not encroaching anywhere, so they'll be supervised by Mr. Brent throughout and approved by the city.
Alderman Walker, you still have the floor.
Mr. Brent, that's been surveyed, is there a pin or anything out there now that the neighbor to the south could see that pin and have a good idea of where that wall would be built?
There are monuments around the perimeter of the two properties that have been combined. The original survey that was given to us by Mr. Gillis was done by a group out of Tupelo. We came back and confirmed or verified their distances and bearings. We didn't do an extensive abstract background title search per se. Be glad to do that to verify or to confirm whether or not that line is moved at some point due to Highway 12 or whatever it is. We would be very happy to do that. We don't feel like the line is moved because all our monuments that we found were awfully consistent with what the deeds call for. We certainly got no problem double checking to make sure that it hadn't moved. As far as a distance off of that line, a wall is a permanent fixture, especially a wall of this type. Over time, sometimes walls that are not built on property lines tend to become property lines. As far as I know, Mr. Kemp can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't know if there's a minimum distance to build a fence off the line. We would want the wall close enough that we don't lose property behind it, but we also would want it close enough to the wall that it allows for the best use of all that access area across there. We have a width that we like to be able to use for our vehicular access, and we don't want the wall halfway across the property. We would prefer to have the wall reasonably close to the property line.
Thank you, sir. How you
Alderman Vaughn.
I want you to know I'm not against growth and I'm not against new development. I'm for what's right. Vine Street have pleaded for 7 years since I'm being here. Every other year is something. It's something. And I just pray that this board will not rezone this property and run this street down to Vine Street with all this traffic out there, with enough traffic already on the street. I just pray that we do the right thing. Just think about if it is in another ward other than Ward 7. Just think about it with another ward. Would you do this? Would you do this to your ward? Would you do this? Will you drive all this traffic down that one street, if it was your ward, a narrow street, just like the residents said. Would you do that? Just let us do the right thing. Let us do the right thing for the whole city of Starkville, and every citizen, every constituent. Let us do the right thing. Be mindful of my constituents, just like I'm mindful of yours.
Further discussion? Any further questions or comments by the members of the board? Any further questions or comments by the members of the board? Seeing none, that will conclude the public hearing on this matter, and we'll move into discussion on the matter. Discussion. Alderman Vaughn.
I may move that we deny the rezoning part of this.
Alderman Vaughn has made a motion to deny the request for a modification and/or removal of conditions placed on the RZ 14-03 and placed on RZ 14-03 by the Board of Aldermen on June 17, 2014 for the sonic rezoning of 711 Vine Street from R3 to B1 with the parcel number 102H-00-183.00 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, it is, Mr.
Are you
Mayor.
comfortable with that motion? Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Vaughn, you wish to speak on the merits?
Board, colleague, do the right thing. That's all I ask you to do.
Discussion.
Mayor,
Alderman Nguyen.
Mayor, be recognized. Well, certainly I understand Alderman Vaughn's concerns. I just wish that there was some way that we could get around this tonight so that we can accommodate the residents over there as well as accommodate the developer for this property. That's what we need to do. I'm not trying to destroy anything. Again, I want what is best for the developer, and certainly I understand the pleas of the residents in that area. But we don't need to kill this tonight. We need to go back to the drawing table and make some other arrangements for this, some type of other alternatives that can be done as far as how the trucks are going to exit out of the property. We don't need to kill that. We need to go back to the drawing table and make some other accommodations for this. Because of that, I cannot support Alderman's motion tonight.
Further discussion? Any 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 further discussion? Seeing none, please respond by saying yay, nay, or abstain when the city clerk calls your name to Alderman Vaughn's motion.
Alderman Carver.
Nay.
Alderman Nguyen.
Nay.
Alderman Walker.
Yay.
Alderman Maynard.
Nay.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
All right, it's 3-3. Yeah, so that means I will break the tie. Prior to doing so, I'm going to make some comments. I have dealt with this matter since 2010. The first request that came before the board in 2010 was a request to rezone the property to commercial. That request was denied. Then the subsequent request was the buffer that was approved with these conditions. Now, I believe the essence of this situation and why it is proven so complicated is that you have a major thoroughfare, the most heavily trafficked commercial thoroughfare in the city, on one side of the property, which makes it highly valuable commercial property. And on the other side of the property, you have one of the oldest neighborhoods in Starkville. So you do have an inherent transition that happens very, very quickly there. Now, as I recall, in 2014, there was quite a bit of discussion, and the board had quite a bit of difficulty before finally approving the buffer and tediously developing the conditions to make sure that the area acted as a buffer. I believe that the buffer is the most appropriate purpose for this piece of property. I also believe in order for it truly to act as a buffer, it needs to include the board's conditions that provided buffers on both sides of this piece of property. Yeah. Furthermore, if you eliminate that buffer in this case, I think you're allowing a much more intense use for this piece of property than was ever contemplated before. You're now no longer just introducing additional traffic from a Sonic that might back all the way up to the property. You are introducing the traffic of heavy commercial vehicles that will move to and from the street. I don't believe that property is any longer serving as a buffer in between the two activities. Accordingly, I'm going to vote yea. Therefore, Alderman Vaughn's motion is going to pass by a 3-3 vote of the Board of Aldermen, with the mayor breaking the tie. Thank you, gentlemen. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of terminating the airport fixed base operator lease.
Mayor, move,
Mr. Mayor,
Hold on one second, Alderman Carver. I'm going to recognize Alderman Maynard first. Alderman Maynard?
yeah, Mr. Mayor, I've got to roll off the call now. Just wanted to inform you of that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alderman Maynard. And the city clerk will note in the record that Alderman Maynard left the meeting prior to discussion of the consideration of terminating the fixed base operator lease. Alderman Carver?
Thank you, Mayor.
Moving to closed session to determine the need for executive session.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to go into closed session to determine whether there is a need for an executive session.
So
motion does not require a second, so I'll ask all those, since Alderman Maynard is no longer on the call, do I still have to go roll call? No. All those in favor of Alderman Carver's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, and it's unanimous. At this time, I'll ask that the public vacate the premises so that the board can begin closed session deliberations to determine whether there is a need for an executive session. Meeting will now come back to order. The board opted not to go into executive session. So you are now in discussion and consideration of terminating the airport fixed base operator lease.
Mayor, I have a motion.
Alderman Webb.
I have a motion. Move approval to accept the recommendation of the municipal airport board to terminate the current airport FBO fixed base operator lease.
Motion has been made by Alderman Nguyen to approve the recommendation of the airport board and terminate the airport fixed base operator lease. Alderman Nguyen, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second. Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Nguyen, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, I do not.
Discussion. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Alderman Nguyen's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 5 in favor with 0 against, this motion passes. The next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of approval to advertise for a fixed base operator. Discussion. Alderman Nguyen.
Move approval to advertise for a fixed base operator flight school for George M. Barnum Field, Starkville, Mississippi.
All right, that motion has been read and it's been reduced to writing. I'm placing a copy of it with the city clerk. Without objection, I won't ask for it to be reread. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Wendy, wish to speak on the merits.
No, I do not.
Discussion. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. Motion clearly passes. And that, I believe, concludes our business. Oh, excuse me. We do have a request for approval of claims docket. Discussion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of the City of Starkville claims docket for all departments, including the Starkville Utilities Department as of January 27th, 2016, for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2016, as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Discussion. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 3 in favor with 2 against, this motion passes. Now, I believe that exhausts our business for this evening. A motion to recess is in order.
So move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to recess until February 16, 2016 at 5:30 in the courtroom at City Hall located at 110 West Main Street. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Stand in recess.
All right. Y'all have a good one. Stay
Okay, you
safe.
too.
Yeah, you too.